Golf Performance Lab, I'm Graham Bell. There's not going to be any testing today. We simply didn't have time this week. But what we're going to talk to you about is what is the difference between cast and forged irons. Okay? Well, simply, cast is there's a mould made and metal is poured into it, into the cast to make the golf club. Whereas forged is basically from a billet of steel, is compressed with massive hammers into a shape. Now, what are the differences between the two in performance? Well, if you look at the cast idea, you can actually, with the geometry of the club, you can position the centre of gravity in these irons easier, right? So it's harder to move the centre of gravity in one piece of metal than it is to pour into a 3D shape. So you can make subtle changes to the golf club. You can also, well, one rule is that cast clubs tend to be bigger, more game improvement, and that's easier to do with a cast opposed to the forged. People talk about forged clubs being softer, yes, because they use a softer metal which is easier to hammer down. The cast ones tend to be harder materials. People say you get softer feel from a forged. You can, absolutely, but nowadays you've got cast backs with forged faces, cast faces with forged backs. So there's a lot of different, how can I put it, different types of forged. When you put forged on a golf club, it tends to attract people to it. They tend to think there's more of a quality to it, probably because it's more of an expensive way to make a club. So the more you have to hammer that club, then yes, it's gonna be more time consuming. People say, is the performance different? Well, when you pour into a cast and you move the CG about, you can get more forgiveness. So that's why they tend to, more forgiving clubs are made of cast. I've seen forged clubs that are bigger, and I do prefer the feel of a forged club. Sometimes when you hit a cast club, you don't get as much feel. A lot of people say to me, well, especially with wedges in a cast set, they get flyers, and that is predominantly due to probably little air pockets in the metal from cast, where you tend to have more of the metal grain flowing in the right direction with a forged club. So most people probably wouldn't even be able to tell you if they recognised a forged versus a cast. If you've played forged clubs all your life, then you go onto a cast, then you probably will feel a difference. Where I maybe simplify things and say is that a forged club is made smaller, right? So you're not going to get the forgiveness out of that forged club. And when you do hit that forged club off centre, you're going to get a heck of a lot more vibration. Now the vibration will give you the feel. So on a cast club, when you hit all over the face, you don't tend to get as much vibration with all these dampeners and stuff that the manufacturers put in. So you tend not to feel where you've hit it. So maybe in synopsis, the forged club, you will feel where you've been hitting it better, I think, than the cast. And also with the smaller head, over time you probably will centre it better. You'll get more consistent distance with that. Whereas in the cast club, you know, you can get some flyers. If you're hitting all over the face and suddenly you hit in the middle, then yeah, you're going to get, it's what we term a flyer. So what's better for you? Simply, you have to try. You have to see what is more consistent for you, even down to the noise off of a cast head compared to a forged. There is a different acoustic level to that. So you have to try them. Again, it all comes down to trying things. Cast versus forged. Forged is always going to be perceived as the elite the elite club, the elite material. But if you think about it this way, somebody was saying with regard to the best-selling wedge is actually a cast head. The Vokey is a cast head, not forged. So players use that all over the world, on all different tours, and they prefer that. So it's debatable. The process is totally different, and the differences have to be probably more down to the design of the club head. It's easier to make a more game improvement club with a cast model than it is to do with a forged model. If you had to do all those things in the forged metal to try and move the CG about and then do extra things with it, then it'll be a more time consuming process. And again, how many high handicappers maybe would pay £2,000, £3,000 for a set of clubs that were made of forged? I don't know. Again, it's up to you. So if you've never played or even tested the two different types of head, then book a fitting and try them, and then you'll see, and you look at the numbers, you'll get the feedback through your ears, through your hands, through your eyes, everything, and you'll make the decision. But cast and forged are different, but make sure that when you're looking at a club that says forged on it, which part of that club is forged, because sometimes it's just the face, sometimes it's the surround, sometimes it's just the back. So be clear on what part of the club is forged, test it, and find out what is more appealing to you. They're two different things, but some players on tour use cast clubs, some use forged. So again, golf is a very individual sport, and sometimes your opinions are different from others. I might feel something good, you might feel it bad. So the important thing is to test, to assess, and to be fitted. So forged versus cast, what do you prefer?